Hello and welcome to Africa News. I'm Ketavan Gorgestani. Coming up in this edition, French President François Hollande pays a special tribute to African soldiers who fought during World War II as France commemorates the 70th anniversary of the Southern Landings. 12 African heads of state were present for the ceremonies. Doctors Without Borders warns the Ebola epidemic is moving faster than authorities can handle and could take 6 months to bring under control. This comes as the World Health Organization says the scale of the outbreak has been vastly underestimated. And we'll take you to one of the last major remnants of the primary tropical forest of West Africa, Ivory Coast's Tai National Park. The forest has been on UNESCO's Natural World Heritage Sites list since 1982. 70 years ago today, Allied troops stormed the beaches of southern France to free the country from Nazi occupation. 12 African leaders, as well as dozens of African veterans, took part in ceremonies off the coast of Toulon, one of the cities freed during the Southern Landings. Following celebrations on June 6 to mark the 70th anniversary of the D-Day landings, this time France paid tribute to the tens of thousands of African troops recruited from its colonies.
That's what this army was. The army of all Africa. A mixed army, a diverse army, a cosmopolitan army. An army that brought together those from Brest and from Bamako, those from London and from Dakar, those from Algiers and those from Fort-de-France. It is this army that drove the Nazis out of France, and I want to pay tribute to all of you.
And the goal of Operation Dragoon, as the Southern Landings were called, was to retake the ports of Marseille and Toulon and open up a second front against the Nazi army. Unlike the Normandy landings, more than half of the 450,000 men who fought on the Mediterranean beaches were French, but thousands were seeing France for the very first time. Alex Turnbull has more.
It's mid-August 1944. 600 troop ships, over 1,200 landing barges and some 2,000 fighter planes are making their way towards the southern coast of France. On board, thousands of soldiers, American, British, Canadian, but also French troops, many of them from the African colonies.
We landed in Toulon. It was really tough.
At the time, Louis Kokou-Sakbo had just turned 20. The crossing of the Mediterranean Sea was for him the last stretch of a very long journey.
We spent a month and a half at sea. For a whole month, we didn't see land.
Ce soir, 14 août 1944, Nancy a le torticolis.
This coded message, broadcasted by the BBC on the evening of August the 14th, let the resistance know the landings would begin the next morning. In the following hours, thousands of soldiers from Africa would set foot on French soil for the very first time.
Reaching the French coast was a shock for us. It was like a child who'd never known its mother.
Jacques was born in Tunisia. After a night of intense bombing, his unit landed on a small beach just south of Saint-Tropez. Less than 2 weeks later, he took part in the battle for Toulon.
It was no cakewalk in Toulon. The Germans were positioned on Mount Faron. They controlled the plain below and were shooting at us. I lost many friends.
In the 15 days following the landings, which saw Allied forces take Toulon and Marseille, nearly 1,000 French soldiers were killed. But with little supplies and no reinforcements, German troops were forced to retreat fast and eventually pulled back to the Vosges Mountains. 70 years later, the last African veterans met again in Paris to commemorate the sacrifice of these troops mobilized across the French colonies to help liberate France.
The Ebola outbreak in West Africa could be more severe than numbers show. The latest figure released by the World Health Organization puts the death toll at 1,145, but the WHO believes the number may be widely underestimated. Meanwhile, medical workers on the ground are finding it hard to keep up with the flood of patients in treatment centers. Haxi Meyers Belkin reports.
It's spreading faster than medics are able to cope with. As the joint response to the Ebola epidemic continues, the World Health Organization fears that the true number of victims may be higher than previously thought.
We've seen with the opening of new treatment centers, many more Ebola patients come forward. And so this has given rise to the belief that there are probably a lot of patients out there that we haven't traced or contacted yet.
This comes as Doctors Without Borders warns that the WHO needs to provide stronger leadership in the face of the health crisis. Likening the situation on the ground to a war zone, the medical charity warned that the epidemic may take 6 months to contain.
Fear will keep us alert, but then we need to mobilize, and then we need to create more cooperation. The other thing is it's like a front line. It's moving, it's advancing, but we have no clue how it's going to go around.
She also advised that more medical professionals were needed in the hardest hit areas, a measure supported by the International Red Cross, which reports that some of the region's best doctors and nurses have themselves been killed by the disease.
And the International Olympic Committee announced that several athletes from Ebola-affected countries would be banned from taking part in the Youth Olympics, which open on Saturday in China. The ban applies to all combat and water sports to prevent possible infections. That means 3 African athletes won't be competing, 2 Nigerian girls and a Guinean swimmer. Sierra Leone and Liberia have decided not to send teams to China. Dozens of young men were abducted from a village in northeast Nigeria by suspected Boko Haram fighters. According to witnesses, men wearing military and police uniforms loaded them onto trucks before driving off. Militants reportedly kidnapped about 100 young men between the ages of 15 and 30. The attacks took place last Sunday, but details have only emerged this Friday. The kidnappings come 4 months after Boko Haram abducted more than 200 schoolgirls from the village of Chibok. Those girls are still missing. 7 people, including 4 civilians, were killed in the Somalian capital of Mogadishu when fighting broke out at dawn. Government troops launched an attack on the house of a former warlord, sparking heavy gunfighting between troops and militiamen. The Somali government launched a disarmament campaign last week in an attempt to reduce the number of weapons circulating in the capital. Authorities say some 500 guns have been recovered so far. And we now head to Ivory Coast. The Tai National Park is one of the last major remnants of the primary tropical forest of West Africa. It's home to more than 2,000 different species, some of which have completely disappeared from the rest of the continent. Our correspondents in Ivory Coast take us to this natural World Heritage Site.
As the morning fog clears, a sanctuary awakens. The last primary forest of Ivory Coast doesn't let people in easy.
Here, these wooden stairs. This is the official entrance to the park.
Past the river, it takes a long and strenuous walk to reach the heart of the forest, where its most minute and largest residents live.
This tree is special. It's actually the best protection against the animals who might chase after you and attack you. You can come and hide here.
Plants and animals all have a role to play.
Everything is linked. For example, the Marcori tree grows thanks to elephants. They eat the berries, then defecate, and the tree grows from there.
The Tai Park is host to an incredible biodiversity. New species are constantly being discovered. 8 different breeds of monkeys live in these trees. But most of the animals here have all but disappeared from West Africa. Authorities have vowed to protect the forest at all costs, especially from poachers.
It's amazing because the Thai National Park plays a very important role, not just because of its biodiversity, but also because it benefits the local and national economy. Today, the cocoa production in Ivory Coast has moved from the east to the west because the park provides the right climate for it.
The climb up the sacred Nyenokwe mountain is exhausting, but the view at the top is breathtaking and gives visitors an idea of what the whole region looked like hundreds of years ago.
And that's all for Africa News, but stay tuned for more headlines from around the world coming right up on France 24.
The 51%.
A programme about the women making headlines in international news. Influential women, human rights activists, or victims of discrimination. From Paris to New Delhi, from Washington to Tunis, every week the 51% highlights the women who are fighting to change a world largely dominated by men.
The 51% on France 24 and on France24.com.